So Shiv, you might have remembered from the last episode, we're talking about first principles and how Elon Musk and Charlie Munger and Josh Woodskin was using it as well. Now, what I'm going to talk about is like, how do you apply this? And one of the methods I like using is called Socratic questioning, which you probably know Socrates, one of the most greatest philosophers of all time. And what Socratic questioning is that you are basically establishing the first principles through like disciplined questioning process. And this way it reveals your assumptions. And I feel like a lot of us have a lot of assumptions, but it doesn't come to the surface when we're trying to learn things or talk about things. And what ends up happening is it actually builds ignorance because it's with this method of questioning, it separates knowledge from ignorance. Because when you operate on assumptions, you're being ignorant to the truth. So the method of this is like 6 questions, really. The first one is like clarifying your thinking and like trying to understand where the origins of these ideas come from. So like one of the questions you can ask to yourself is like, why do you think this way? Or why do I think this way? And what exactly do I think about this topic? And when you say what exactly do I think, it's about what you think, not about like what social media or other people or whatever says. It's about what do you genuinely think about the topic or the problem. And then the second part is like challenging assumptions. So it's like, how do you know that this is truth? And what is the opposite as well? So you play devil's advocate. Like, what do the people on the other side think and how do they think? And the third is like looking for evidence. So how can you back this up and what are the sources? And I would even go further and look at who are the people that are providing this source? Do they have an agenda? Because if they do, that creates bias in information. So you want to be able to minimize that as much as possible. And the fourth is like looking at alternative perspectives. What do others think and how do I know that I'm correct? And the fifth is examining consequences and limitations. So what if I'm wrong and what are the consequences if I am wrong? And then you can use second order thinking, which we talked about last time. Where it's like, what are the consequences of those consequences if you are wrong? And yeah, and the last part is questioning the original questions. It's like each time you think about these answers that you make up, why did you think that way? And was I correct? And what is the conclusions that I can draw from the reasoning process? So when you apply this way of thinking, it actually tries and reduces your instinctive response and your emotional responses. And so it makes you much more objective. And that way you'll actually bring out more of like the foundational truth and knowledge, which is going to be longer lasting compared to being instinctive and emotional reactive.
That's really, really, really interesting because it makes a lot of sense because I think a lot of people start viewing opinions as facts, right? I've been guilty of this, and I know, a really great leader actually told me, I don't want to hear opinions of people. I want to hear what are the facts. And when he questioned me that, I was like, damn, yeah, okay, you're right. I think we're as soon as opinions start flowing in, everyone starts viewing that as facts, and you sort of get a herd mentality of, you sort of then it becomes a group, like everyone then thinks alike. It's like, okay, well, what are the facts that actually led you to think that way? It's like, well, this was the facts, and then if in a group of 20 people, it might be like, if that was the facts, maybe my opinion is different on this now. And it happens all the time. Like, for example, when say a tragic event happens, and then people start viewing it as, my opinion of is this, and then all of a sudden someone's like, yeah, I agree, and it becomes like, I agree. It's like branches out, and then as it branches out, then people will look at the facts. It's like, oh, actually, you know what, that opinion was wrong. But I think what I'm trying to get to is, it's not, you can't view other people's opinions as facts. You need to go out and actually look at the facts yourself and then come up with your own opinion. And most of the times you really need to challenge people on their perspective. If there's something that you actually disagree with, you need to actually voice that disagreement. Because if you can't and the way you voice that disagreement is, through evidence. It's like, hey, look, I've looked at it from this lens. I've got this perspective. The way I've derived this information is via this. And I think what I'm proposing here is what works. This is what I think works. What do you think? And it's sort of, I think healthier debates and conversations with people can really, that's what defines a healthy conversation, right? It's because you're both coming from different perspectives, different sources of evidence, let's say, but you're able to convey that in a healthy way because it's not very opinionated, but it's like, hey, these are my facts, these are your facts. Now let's discuss it and come up with an aligned approach.
Yeah, like I think that's a good way to be able to approach a debate, especially being able to listen to the other person actively and try. Like this is from Stephen Bartlett. What he said is like disagree less, understand more. So because like if you approach say like topics where you whatever topic it really is, and you approach it from disagreement at the beginning, where you say like, "Oh, you're wrong," they're gonna automatically like be in a state of trying to protect themselves. So what he says instead is like to start from like what is commonalities, and then as you were saying, like, okay, this is what I think. What do you think about this topic, and why do you think this way? Because when you start on commonalities and what you both agree on, then your brain goes in synchronicity, which means like it's like listening to music. You're like in a synchronous state. And that way the other person's actually more willing to listen to you. So it's good to approach debates and arguments that way, because then, it's not going to become emotionally driven, where it becomes personal attacks at that point.
So which
becomes more productive.
Well, we've seen it happen. Cough, cough. But no, yeah, you're right. But I also think that it actually helps your own understanding of something instead of it all being, yeah, I saw this on Twitter or X, or I saw this on Instagram, or I saw this on YouTube, and this is my opinion and view on it. Again, it's very common, right? Because now you've got spread of information, like probably the most information that's ever been available to anyone at any point in human history, right? And now you can imagine with all that information, what is considered the truth, what is considered not. Well, fundamentally, I don't think you'd ever actually know that, because you put out the facts and then it's all just driven by opinions of people, right? And then what does that lead to? You see it on X, people fighting over nothing. People really being passionate about someone else's opinion. It's like, could you be passionate about your own facts? Could you actually go and do your own research and think, okay, maybe I could be passionate about this now that I know the facts really well and I understand what this is trying to tell me and what I believe in it. And this isn't even about like political agendas or what your ideology is, what religion you are, what it is. It's simply just saying, these are my values. This is what I see as facts, and I'm passionate about it, right? But you can't then get upset, or you can't fully disagree with someone that might have different set of values, that has a different perspective, that have gotten the facts from another source. Because then, have you both then questioned your sources? Have you both really actually gone to the atomic level of understanding why is the fact telling me this?
Yeah, and like when you even get someone to explain it, you actually see a lot of flaws in like their reasoning. And it's actually interesting when you do go in debates and like arguments. If you just ask them like, why do you think that way? Or explain it to me how you got to this. Literally the word explain it becomes like, in a way, a weapon. Because like when they're trying to explain it, they can't. They're just like, oh, it just is. Or like, because a lot of the time, as you said, like the information stuff can be, people agree just so they don't, so they can bandwagon in a way, or they're emotionally just responding instinctively. But as if you use the Socratic questioning and you really make them explain it, it'll be very difficult. And what's funny is, I think we overestimate how much we know as well. Like there was like a survey in, I think, Yale. It's like one of the universities, and they asked people initially, do you have a good understanding of how the toilet works at your house? And most people responded yes. But then they asked, okay, explain it to me, and now explain how it works. And then majority could not explain. Like I can't explain exactly how a toilet works like end to end. So most of them would then change their answer to like, no, they don't have a good understanding of how a toilet, like their toilet at home. Because the first question was like, do you have a good understanding of the toilet at your house? And the second part was like, now can you explain how the toilet works at your house? And so they came to realize that actually no, I don't really understand how a toilet, like the toilet really well at my house, because I can't explain how it works. So then you see how like a lot of the time we overestimate how much we know when it's really not the case. We so that's like, I think with Socratic questioning, that's like very important where it comes to like explaining it to like the first principles, and that's why it's important to understand it from the first principles. Then you'll be able to explain it and justify your reasoning and things like that.
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway that I've got from this is, are you able to justify your reasoning in a methodical way that makes sense? Simple. If you can't, then you have to go back and actually understand your reasoning, question your reasoning. I think a lot of people don't question their reasoning enough. Do you think that? Like, do you think a lot of people just don't really understand, why do I think this way? It's like, oh, I just think that way because X, Y, Z. It's like, okay, well, there might be reasons, but it's like, okay, why do I have these reasons?
Yeah, I think we just don't give ourselves even the time to even think about it that way, because we're all so busy with like social media, with what's going on.
I don't think I would say as busy. I would say as
Excuses.
prioritization.
Yeah.
Like people just don't prioritize it, you know? It's funny. You know, of us, many people, what value does Instagram bring to you? Or, you know, they're like, oh, like, you know, keep in touch with people, blah, blah, blah. Cool. Do you find yourself comparing yourself to people? Yeah, I do. Cool. Have you considered taking a break from it? Or, you know, have you considered healthier ways to, you know, find a way to address that? Yeah, but no. Can't help you, buddy.
Yeah, and it's true. Yeah.
So then
honestly,
some people have reasoning, understand it's a problem, but refuse to do something about it. And there's nothing
really you can do about it.
You're just at a surface level thinking then. And
that's why you can use something called the 5 whys, which is like the next method.
5 W's. That's right. You said that he's on sales pitch way.
Yeah, well,
did you know that there's these 5 whys you can question yourself with? Ask yourself the 5 whys and implement it into your life.
only for $29.99. Like there's all day ads.
Hey, put it on. Let's create a Patreon. Pay $129 or $189 for the 5 whys, guys.
No, but like, yeah, because like most people will stop at a dead end. They would be like, like for example, I was gonna say the most common question is like why people say they're lazy, right? When you say, oh, why don't you do like your habits, or like why don't you go to the gym or whatever? It's like they end it with like, I'm lazy. And then when you use like 5 whys and you break it down, it's actually not even the case that you're even lazy. Like for example, myself, right? In the last 2 months, I haven't really been going to the gym regularly, and now let's break it down. I could say initially that I was lazy, but then it doesn't really answer the question completely, because that's like surface level. And now if I say like why, right, it would be like because I slept. Why didn't I go to the gym? Because I just slept late the night before. It's like, why? Because I was on my phone at night, and that makes me sleep late at night. It's like, why are you on your phone? It's like, maybe it's because I just don't have my routine together, or maybe there's something, or it might be something else that I'm just not content with. And so I end up wasting my time on social media and just consuming content just so I can feel good. And then what it is then is like, then I ask like, why do I do that? It's like, it might be just something else that I'm not prioritizing. Or maybe it could also be that, I think this happens with me, is like you assign yourself with too many things to do through the day. And what ends up happening is you do shallow work where it's like you don't even get much done through each of the things that you try and do. And then and then you don't even commit. It's like the things that you say you will do each day, you just don't end up doing. And then you lose commitment, you lose belief, and that carries over to other parts of your life. Where it's like, and you just fill yourself up with just time wasting activities, just so you can feel a sense of dopamine. And so you see how I said I thought I was, lazy? It's much more deeper than that. There's much more depth to it. So when you use the 5 whys, it breaks it down to that level.
you're really stripping your layers of that onion analogy that we used. You're really stripping it down to its core, and that core is the answer. But the biggest thing with that is you can't start stripping your onion if you're not truthful to yourself, right? So the action of stripping the onion is being truthful to yourself. If you can't be truthful to yourself at that first stage, you're not going to get to that atomic level, because as you're stripping it, if you're not truthful to yourself, but you're lying to yourself, you're not being authentic to yourself, you're not actually really questioning and answering it honestly. That's the clear distinction. You like, the thing that resonated with me the most there is I really question myself why? Because I need to be honest with myself. And the truth is, a lot of people aren't honest with themselves, right? It's all a fallacy. It's all superficial. It's a fugazi. But that's what it is. You can't strip. Like, think of your hands as the truth. Think of the onion as the problem, and truth, onion goes, hands, onion, strip goes together. You find your thing. But until you don't actually get to that first stage, you're never gonna know it.
You might not even be peeling an onion at that point.
You're probably not.
It's
No,
just
you're
like
not.
maybe peeling something else. So it's like you gotta
Pulling something else.
so you gotta identify you gotta identify, is it actually an onion now I'm peeling? So by that I mean like the problem.
Oh my god, pulling something else.
So yeah, exactly. I definitely agree. It's like, how do you expect yourself to get to the fundamental truth if you're not even being truth and honesty even yourself throughout that peeling process?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
it's uncovering the layers. So, but you can see how like Socratic questioning and the 5 whys method is quite powerful, and it's just funny. Like, I don't get why we don't do it. Like, when we were a kid, we'd always question things, but nowadays it's just gone. And I guess maybe part of it is because of just AI. We just go on social media, everything's just automatic these days.
I'm glad you've said that.
Algorithms
And AI. The amount of time, and look, AI, when used, ChatGPT, all the AI tools, when used, I mean, I use Autopod for this, right? Brilliant. Saves me time, saves me effort, and I really need that time back. I think anyone would agree you need that time back. So when AI tools are used well, brilliant. But I think the biggest thing with AI tools is you sort of need to have, and I use something called a BCP. It's like BCP is called a business continuity plan, right? It's like, if the earthquake hit, how does the business operate? So if Autopod went down tomorrow, I need to answer myself, would I still be able to edit this podcast? Yes. The truth is, yes, I can, right? It'll take me longer, but I know the process on how to do it. Now with AI, you got to ask, the main question I ask myself is, if I put this into AI, it's going to make it better. It's going to answer the question for me. But if that thing didn't exist, do I know how to go get the answer if I had to? And if you can't answer that question, you should really think whether you're using AI in a proper way, or you're just using it to, not actually learn. Because the AI tools is actually a way for you to learn. It's not a tool to make, it's a tool to make things easier, more efficient, and more productive for yourself. But the biggest thing is, it's a way to help you learn how to do something. But also, if that tool didn't exist, would I still be able to do it? And I think a lot of people would be able to, like, a lot of people's answers would be, I probably wouldn't be able to. And then you can see, like, I mean, if you're writing up a work email and you're putting it into AI to make it sound better, there's bigger issues there, right? You've got to actually understand, hey, like, is my vocabulary probably that needs work on? Do I need to read a dictionary? Do I need to use more synonyms? Do I need to read a book? Do I need to read more? Do I need to maybe observe other emails that are written really well? Hey, AI is reading this quite well. If I compare mine and this, how can I make it better? And then how do I start writing it better at sort of AI level, and then putting on AI, and it makes it sound better and better. And then you've fundamentally worked on yourself whilst leveraging AI. But a lot of people don't do that.
That's a really good perspective, actually, because it's going to be more common in the day and age, like 5-10 years ahead. And I think I use AI as well, right? But I use it to just improve like what I have, or give me different ideas. And I think that's the way it should be used, because it's either two things, like two questions. It's like, are you using AI to replace you? We're just completely dependent on it. Or are you using AI to enhance you? And you should use it to enhance you, is what I got from what you're saying, which was a really powerful perspective. And I think with this Socratic questioning and 5 whys and things like that, it can help get you to enhanced state. And I think the really best way to simplify it is have childlike curiosity to question things, and have adult-like rationality to reason whether or not this is actually the truth. And that's what I would walk away from at the end of like this episode.
You've literally summarized the entire episode in that 5-10 seconds, last 5-10 seconds. No, genuinely incredible. That was really well put. Really well put.
It's thanks to you as well.
Childlike curiosity, adult-like rationality. Wow. I'm sure. Oh, goosebumps, dude. Holy, that's wow. Yeah, that's powerful, man. I think we'll wrap up here, but